Hey everyone, welcome back to the Nerds of the Multiverse channel. Today I am coming at you with a brand new ranking video, and that is to the Marvel Cinematic Universe Infinity Saga. I will be ranking all the movies from worst to best, from 23 all the way to number 1. So if you guys are ready for this and you're excited for it, make sure to hit that like button and sit back and enjoy this video. Okay, so as I mentioned, I am going to be ranking them from worst to best. So we're going to start with number 23. I do want to say I enjoyed most films of the Infinity Saga. I honestly don't hate any of them. There's some that I enjoy more than others. That's why we're ranking them. But I don't hate any of them. So I will start off by saying that. But coming in at number 23, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp. This movie was not a bad film. I did not enjoy this film nearly as much as I enjoyed the first Ant-Man film. I thought the first Ant-Man film was just fresh. Obviously, it was funny, lighthearted. It got serious at moments. This one, I just didn't think Ghost was as great as a villain. She was scary at moments. I enjoy her more as a character now that I've seen the Thunderbolts. Lawrence Fishburne was great as Bill Foster. It's just this movie was a drop from the first one, so I am putting that in last place. Coming in at number 22, we have Thor: The Dark World. Now, with that being said, I still enjoy this film. I used to hate this film with a passion, but honestly, as I've rewatched it, as I've seen it more and more over the years, and I've given it more of a chance, yes, it could still be dry at some points. I do think that it was a good shift, making Thor a little bit more comical. He was very, very serious, and I don't think it fit with the overall world of the MCU, even though I do like him being more serious rather than more comical. But this movie gets better as you rewatch it. Obviously, we get introduced to the Ether, which becomes a Reality Stone. So there's a lot of good takeaways from this film. Just Malekith is also a forgettable villain. So don't love it, but I don't hate it as much as I used to. So that is number 22. Coming in at number 21, we have The Incredible Hulk. Now, that being said, I think this film is a ton of fun. I'm honestly, looking at it now, I don't think Edward Norton was a bad Hulk. Do I think he would have done a better job than Mark Ruffalo? In some aspects, yes. In other aspects, probably not. But I do enjoy this film. I thought it was a very good origin story. Obviously, we haven't seen much of the Hulk in his own solo stuff because they haven't had the rights to him. But we've also kind of downgraded from the Hulk. So maybe this one is just so much more enjoyable because we actually get to see a Hulk that's the Hulk and not just someone who doesn't want to be the Hulk. It's just Smart Hulk, Professor Hulk. But I enjoyed this film. I thought Abomination was cool. I enjoy just seeing a classic Hulk story. It felt like you're reading the Hulk comic books. Thunderbolt Ross is great. Rest in peace to William Hurt. But overall, really enjoyed this film. Just not more than others. So, still in the bottom tier. That was number 21. So, with that being said, we're going to be breaking into the top 20. So, coming in at number 20, we have Captain Marvel. This film is just not my favorite. I think the story is cool. Obviously, it introduces Skrulls. I really enjoy seeing a young Nick Fury and Agent Coulson. Her character's not even bad. Jude Law is awesome in this movie. I do appreciate the character more as I've kind of learned more about her since this movie's come out. It's nothing against Brie Larson either. I just don't think I like the character that much. And I think it could be done better. I still have not seen The Marvels, the sequel, so maybe that could sway my opinion a little bit. She's not a horrible character, just not one of my favorites, not one that I enjoy seeing over others, so that's why Captain Marvel is at number 20. Then we get to number 19, and that is where we are going to be putting the film Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2, in my opinion, has very good moments. Obviously, we get the introduction to Black Widow. We see Tony basically making a new element. We see him being Tony Stark. Whiplash is okay. Justin Hammer, okay. Honestly, there's moments that are great, but it's a forgettable movie. If you wanted to kind of just sit back, not really have too much to think about, it's a good movie. And I don't hate it. I will rewatch it. Definitely the worst of the trilogy in my opinion. But yeah, Iron Man 2 is 19. Coming in at number 18 is where we have Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I know there's a lot of people who are probably going to be very upset. Listen, I love the Guardians. Very, very much. I think each one of them do a very good job playing their parts. Kurt Russell's cool. Ego of the Planet is cool. This movie honestly gets better for me on rewatch. The first time I watched it, I thought it was good. I don't enjoy it nearly as much as other films, though. And in my opinion, I also think this one is the worst of the trilogy. But very wholesome moments in it with like Yondu, towards the end especially. Obviously, you have Baby Groot and the whole button scene. There's a lot of good of this film, and I don't think it's bad. I enjoy it. It has to be lower because there's so many great films in the Infinity Saga. I think we kind of take for granted what we had going for the first 10 years of Marvel. There is a lot, and I mean a lot of good. Honestly, the films that we've ranked so far are not bad films. There's just lower tier of good. So the Infinity Saga was special, and I think that we have taken it for granted in some ways. But yeah. Moving on to number 17. Now this one kind of pains me to have it this low, but I think it has to be here. And this is where I'm going to put Iron Man 3. Listen, Iron Man 3's ending with the Iron Legion, and you see all of the suits, absolutely love it. This is a Christmas film. If people can say Die Hard is a Christmas film, Iron Man 3 is a Christmas film. There you go. We'll compromise. But I enjoy Iron Man as a character. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr. is phenomenal. I don't like what they did with the Mandarin. I don't like it, to be honest. I thought that was the biggest downgrade in the film. Like, Aldrich Killian, yeah, it's not the Mandarin. You basically took the Mandarin, you made a twist, and then it didn't seem like what it should have been. So, biggest downgrade to me for this film was because of the Mandarin. But all of the suits, obviously we get Harley Keener in this film. Wish we would have got a little bit more with him, as seeing now past this film, we didn't really get anything ever with him except for the funeral scene with Tony Stark. So pains me to have it this low. Good movie, love Iron Man, but that is 17. So now we need number 16, and this is where I have the fun and enjoyable film Ant-Man. Before this film came out, I've always grown up being a Spider-Man fan. I knew of bigger heroes, and I know Ant-Man is an original Avenger. I just didn't know much about him, but this film introduced me to Ant-Man. I've known more and more about him over the years. I've read comics and stuff for the Avengers now. I know more about Hank Pym and all of the stuff with Yellow Jacket and Scott Lang. I understand it a lot more now. But going into it for the first time, kind of not knowing anything about Ant-Man, I thought that this was a very, very fun film. Very comical. Obviously, we have Luis as well, and the guys. Paul Rudd is awesome. I think he's an excellent character for this. He's definitely a more side character. Him having a standalone film, though, was very, very good. And I love the whole heist, and I love pretty much everything about this film. I've met Evangeline Lilly in person. Phenomenal human being. She's very awesome to meet, and I love this film. There's nothing bad I could say about it. So that's 16. Breaking into the top 15. This is where I might get a little bit of pushback, but I'm okay with it, to be honest. And it pains me to have a Spider-Man movie this low, but I think it has to be here compared to others. So this is where I'm going to put Spider-Man Far From Home. I love Spider-Man. Favorite superhero of all time. This film, to me, though, I don't like the whole we're outside of New York. That's a big thing. Spider-Man belongs in New York, and I want him to stay in New York. It's cool traveling the world, and I know that's happened in the comics. I understand. It's just, I feel like Spider-Man belongs in New York City, and he needs to stay in New York City. Jake Gyllenhaal was the best part of this film. Great Mysterio. I think it works very well for the MCU to have Iron Man be the mentor of Spider-Man. I think it's very, very good. And I don't hate it. It's just having him kind of just be having him being mentored for the entire first trilogy, it kind of started to get old a little bit. And it started to get old more in this film. I understand, though, that the MCU, basically his first trilogy was his origin story, because we didn't even have the death of Aunt May until the third one. And now he's going to kind of be more of that adult Spider-Man, so he won't need a mentor as much. I think that's kind of like another reason why it's lower for me. I wish he was mentored less, but it makes sense for what the MCU has done. Tom Holland's great. I love him as Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Jake Gyllenhaal, like I mentioned, was great. Mysterio was awesome. Very, very good scenes, especially the whole Spider-Sense scene towards the end where Mysterio's about to kill him with his illusion. It was awesome. Nick Fury's cool. By now he's a Skrull is insane. Good film. Good moments. Just middle of the pack for me. Middle of the pack. So moving on to number 14. This is where I have the first Thor movie. Put this right here. I honestly enjoy the first Thor. I think the weirdest thing about this film is that Chris Hemsworth does not have eyebrows. They're all like bleached. Very, very strange. But the story was cool. It felt just like Thor. Tom Hiddleston's first time as Loki was great. I honestly really enjoyed the cast. I love the whole just Asgard aesthetic. Heimdall's great. I love everything about this film. I just think that it's a classic origin story. There's not too much going on. And to be honest, I can't really say anything bad about it. I like all of it, other than the eyebrows. That was strange. But, good movie. And I don't understand people who hate serious Thor. I understand him becoming more comical fits the MCU better. I think it allows Chris Hemsworth to be a little bit more of himself, which is not bad at all. I think they overdid it in Love and Thunder. And if we were ranking the Multiverse Saga, you'd see how much I dislike that Thor. But Thor's a cool character, and having that perfect mix between seriousness and comedy and being at the right moment, I think is very important. So I enjoy this version of Thor as much as I enjoy Ragnarok's version of Thor. But good origin story. Okay, so coming in at number 13, we have Doctor Strange. Now, this is another movie and another character I didn't know much about before I went to the theater and watched it. I've never heard of Doctor Strange until this movie came out, which I'm honestly sad I didn't. I'm only 24, so at this time, what was this, 2014? I think, 2014. So if that's the case, then I was 13 years old. So didn't know much about Doctor Strange, but going into this movie and just kind of seeing what this character's about, his origin was great. I really started to enjoy the mystical side of things. I came out of this movie just feeling ecstatic, and I was like, man, there's a new superhero that I can really just kind of dig more into, as far as like reading the comics, as far as watching shows that involve him, and just reading more about him and his lore. And I'm excited to see what happens with Doctor Strange in the future of the MCU. I thought his origin story was phenomenal. Very, very good. So, Mads Mikkelsen, phenomenal villain. I wish we would have had more of him. That's all I'm going to say about that. So, moving on. So now we are moving on to number 12. Number 12. So as you can see, these are the movies we have left on this list. Number 12 for me is going to be Captain America, the First Avenger. I love this film. I would not tolerate any disrespect for this film. I understand some of the lines in this movie are cheesy. It's literally set in the 1900s, early 1900s, during World War II. Of course they're going to be cheesy. It felt very much like a Captain America comic. I love how simple it is, but this film, every time it's on, I feel like I have to watch it. It's just it's exciting to me. I understand that people think that it's slow. I really enjoy it, so I don't care what anybody says. I love the First Avenger. I think it's a very good origin story for Cap, and I just enjoy it. So that is my number 12. Coming in at number 11. Now, I want it to be said, my 10 and 11 could probably be interchangeable. It just depends on when I watch them. And if you just saw how much I love like the last few movies, and like I said, I don't think there's a bad movie in this Infinity Saga, but you just saw how I love like the last ones who are kind of outside the top 10. I love these films. So all that's left, I can't really complain too much about them. But number 11 is where I have Black Panther. And I get it. This film has been ranked on some lists as a top 5 comic book movie of all time. I'm not going to dispute that. I'm not going to give my ranking on top 5 comic book movies of all time today. I really love this film. I think Black Panther was a very good origin story. Chadwick Boseman, rest in peace, phenomenal. Michael B. Jordan, phenomenal. I think the two biggest things that kind of bring this movie down a little bit for me, Black Panther doesn't have a massive rogues gallery. His top two are Killmonger, and you have Ulysses Claw. You kill both of them. Both of them. So, I think that brings it down a bit for me, just because he doesn't have a ton of people to fight. Yeah, he could fight against Avengers threats. He would have been fine against Namor, and just doing whatever they were going to do with that. And I think it would have worked perfectly. But that brought it down for me a little bit. But phenomenal scenes. I thought Ryan Coogler did an amazing job. Really enjoyed this film. I love the music involved with it. A lot of really good moments. Like the whole I have not yielded. Oh. He's like, in case you haven't noticed, I am not dead. Oh my gosh. Beautiful moments. There's a lot of really good acting. And knowing that Chadwick Boseman was going through all that he was going through with his cancer during this film, man, he put on a performance. Really good, really enjoyable. Just outside my top 10, like I said, it could be interchangeable any day of the week. There's probably a couple on here you're like, why is this higher than Black Panther? I'll explain when we get there. But that is my number 11. So that means going into the top 10. I feel like for this purpose for today, I couldn't leave this one out of the top 10. And this is where I'm going to put Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. This film was fun. I didn't know anything about the Guardians before this movie came out. They weren't a very, very popular group. Like, people knew of them, but they weren't like, it wasn't the Avengers. It wasn't the Fantastic Four. It was the Guardians of the Galaxy. And they've had different members over the years. But this origin story and what James Gunn did with this team, it was special. And first time I watched this film, I don't even think I saw this one in the theaters. I think I saw this when it released on TV for the first time. I fell in love. I had a blast watching them. I thought the whole dynamic that they had was so dysfunctional, but it worked. And the dance-off was great. Just seeing the comedy in this film, and like just the amazing job by the voice actors like Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper. Very good film. You brought in Dave Bautista to the MCU and he's Drax. Great. And obviously you have Zoe Saldana, you have Karen Gillan. Ronan was cool, but then the man of the show himself, Chris Pratt. People didn't know how he was going to be in this film, but that from that very opening scene when he's singing and he's going to go steal the orb, he's great. And I'm very happy that this film got made. I'm happy what James Gunn did and what the actors were able to do with these characters. So that is my number 10. So coming in at number 9, this is where I think it gets a little bit controversial, but I'm not kidding. This movie's been on TV a lot recently, and since I went through this ranking and I made this list, I've watched it several times since. This movie gets better every rewatch. It is an overhated film. People hate this film too much, and I disagree with the hate for it. So I'm putting Avengers Age of Ultron at number 9. And I think it deserves to be in the top 10. There's people who don't even have this in their top 20. They'll put it in the bottom of the bottom tier. It's an Avengers film. This film is great. And I think that just because it wasn't the very first one which brought them together, just because it wasn't where you brought the biggest bad of all time into the MCU up to this point, for either film, people kind of bring it down a little bit. They don't view Ultron as good of a villain. I'm excited Ultron is coming back, to be honest. He's supposed to be in the Vision Quest series, so that's cool. But this film deserves more respect. It's an Avengers film. It doesn't fall short. They have a very good dynamic, and the whole Hulkbuster scene, like, you get introduced to the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, which I will say, Quicksilver being killed off, I thought was a waste. That was dumb. I understand why they did it. It set it up for the moment, but that was, and it really pushes Wanda forward. But I thought that was not a very wise decision. We should have at least got a full movie with him. He could have died in the next adaptation. I thought that was kind of a drop of the ball, if you may. But overall, though, Avengers Age of Ultron, really enjoyable film. So, don't understand the hate. Okay, coming in at number 8. We're down to 8. This is where I have Spider-Man Homecoming. I really enjoy Tom Holland as Spider-Man. My favorite Spider-Man of all time is still Andrew Garfield. I think he's the best. I grew up with Tobey when I was a kid. Andrew was more in my middle school years. Tom was high school for me. And now into my adult life, I went through high school, college, and now I'm out of school completely. And Tom's still Spider-Man. He's great. And this was a very cool introduction, especially because seeing him post-Civil War when he was very first introduced, and Iron Man brought him in, seeing how he's a mentor, seeing the whole dynamic that he has with Michael Keaton's Vulture, and Michael Keaton's Vulture knowing who he is, sets up Scorpion, who's now going to be finally capitalized on in Brand New Day next year. There's a lot of really good moments in this film, and it kind of set a new tone for Spider-Man. It did something a little bit different. Obviously, we didn't have the death of Uncle Ben. Death of Aunt May is really what it ends up being his with great power comes great responsibility moment in No Way Home. But this film, very, very enjoyable. I like it a lot. So, number 8 for Spider-Man Homecoming. So, moving on to number 7. This is where I have the start of it all. The start of the MCU. Iron Man is a top 7 film for me. There's people who probably have this in their top 5. It's the start of it all. Robert Downey Jr., this was not only a revitalization for Marvel, this was a revitalization for himself. He had been in a few projects since he had gotten through his rehab and kind of started getting back on track, but this movie really just, it changed a lot for him, and obviously it changed Marvel. They banked a lot on this film. If this film failed, the MCU would not be what it is. And this film was vitally important. It was an awesome start. I thought that they did phenomenal with just the character and just the amount of improvisation that he does as a character. Great. I think as far as origin stories in the MCU goes, it's one of the best ones that we've had. And obviously I think it's the best origin story that we had in the Infinity Saga. Very, very good. So, Iron Man, number 7. Okay, this is where I think people are going to be a little bit upset. Because I know people who have this as a number 1, I know people who have this as a top 3, and I think that it probably should be in the top 5. But it's going to be just outside the top 5 for me. It's going to be at number 6, and this is where I'm going to put Thor Ragnarok. There probably was times growing up before, especially after this movie came out, I probably would have put this as a top 3 film. This is probably my favorite version of Thor, period. This and Infinity War Thor. Really, really well done. This is what I was talking about earlier. Perfect balance of seriousness and comedy. It wasn't overdone on either side. So this was great. Obviously, we get a very good portion of the World War Hulk storyline in this as well with the Hulk. Hela was very good as a villain. It sets up a lot going into Infinity War, which we come to find out. And there's a lot of really good moments in this. I love the whole gladiator fight scene when they're in the arena. I love just Loki in this film is great. His dynamic and Chris Hemsworth, Tom Hiddleston, Chris Hemsworth is phenomenal, and I love seeing them on film together. Little did we know that this would be the last time we'd see them on film together, and obviously Infinity War happens in the very beginning, but that's the last time we see them really in a whole film, and probably until Doomsday comes out next year in December. So this film is good though, very special. It changed it changed the dynamic for Thor in the MCU for a positive, and I think that a lot of people love this film. Sometimes I think it gets a little bit overhyped. Other times I think that people hate on it a little bit too much. It kind of just depends on the day, but I enjoy Thor Ragnarok. So now we have made it to my top 5. The top 5 movies of the Infinity Saga. So this was not easy to rank. All these films right here are elite. I kind of just think that this is where I would place them in the moment. It could change over time. But at number 5, starting off, we have the OG Avengers. There's an argument where people could even say that this is the best Avengers film that has ever been made. Obviously, we see them actually become assembled in this film for the very first time. We'd never seen anything like this. We saw all these origin stories over the years. Obviously, we were hinting at this big team up. And then it finally happens, and they executed so well. So well. There's people who probably could say that this is the best movie of the entire MCU, and they probably, I wouldn't say they're wrong. It's their opinion. It's not my opinion, but I wouldn't argue with it, because this film just did so much. And without this film, we're not having other Avengers films. This was kind of like, okay, this is the test. We made it past like our origin stories. Obviously, we got off to a good start with Iron Man. We got to see Cap. We saw Thor. Got Iron Man sequel, which kind of went down a little bit, and we got Dark World, which actually I think Dark World was a little bit after, to be honest. Yes, it was after. But this movie is special, and yeah, number 5. So coming in at number 4. Just actually was watching this last night, and this movie is phenomenal. This is where I have Captain America Civil War, which is basically like Avengers. It's basically Avengers 2.5, because they're all in this film. It's between Age of Ultron and Infinity War. The Civil War story, and this is obviously different from the comics. They're both very good, and this one fits the narrative of the MCU very well. And get the introduction to Spider-Man. We have the introduction to Black Panther. A lot of good in this film. I honestly don't have too many complaints at all, to be honest. And I just really enjoy just seeing that inner conflict. Obviously, the reveal of Bucky killing Tony's parents was huge. Him and Cap, there's several good lines in this movie. And I remember when this was coming out, the marketing for this film, picking if you're Team Cap or Team Iron Man, and I picked Team Iron Man. That's who I was on, and I was happy because we had Spider-Man, and I was thrilled. So I love this film. I get excited talking about these films as well, and like I mentioned, there's no bad films in this saga. Honestly, I enjoyed all of them, even if I did enjoy some less than others. But now we're going to be going into the top 3, and I think it's ridiculously hard to rank these ones, especially. The last 3 that I named were so hard for me to put where they got put, but now we're going to put top 3, which was very, very difficult. So coming in at number 3, this is probably a lot of people's number 1, but I'm going to put Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Obviously, this is my favorite one of the Cap trilogy, with Steve Rogers. This film just was different. The spy espionage, it was very serious, but it took a huge leap from the very first Captain America. Obviously, he had to kind of catch up with society. He's no longer back in the 1900s. He's in the 2010s, and he's on a whole new level of elite. Him and Black Widows, I wish that they would have pushed their relationship. I wish they would have got together, to be honest. Nick Fury was very cool. Seeing Hydra, the whole elevator scene. This film is phenomenal. One of Cap's better suits in the entire MCU. Very, very good. Chris Evans, I always enjoy watching him as Cap. So, number 2 for me. And then we come down, and you can obviously see the 2 that are left. The 2 that are left is part 1 and part 2 of the pinnacle of this entire saga. And very, very important to say that I love both of them. I used to rank them differently than what I'm about to rank them today. I used to have one of them at number 1 and the other one be at number 2. Now they're flipped for me. And it's because you know, one of them is a better movie. The other one has a lot more epic moments, but story-wise, there's some potholes. So that means that number 2 is going to be Avengers Endgame. I know that there's people who criticize this film a lot as far as potholes go. Oh, this doesn't make sense. Whatever. Every time I watch this film, we get to that final scene where the portals happen, and when Cap yells Avengers Assemble, you have him with Mjolnir. Every single time, I have tears of joy in my eyes because I'm so excited watching it. It was a very good moment in the theater, and it was an awesome moment as a fan who loves these characters. And every time I watch it, I remember just wow, this was phenomenal, and this was the culmination. Obviously, you have the death of Iron Man. You have Cap passing down the torch of the mantle of Captain America to Sam. Black Widow dies. Like there's just so much in this film, and time travel happens, which made the multiverse saga possible. And like there's so much in this film, and it's phenomenal. And I would not trade this film for the world. I don't care about any plot hole in it. You know, I enjoy the whole film. I would not trade it for anything. But the better story, the better movie, and probably the best comic book movie of all time. Definitely in the top 3 conversation. Probably my number 1. Avengers Infinity War. This was the beginning of the end. The beginning of the end game. And so much. Obviously, we've been waiting for Thanos to show up for years. The Infinity Stones were hinting at it. We knew it was coming. But the way that they brought it all together, this huge overarching story over the past 10 years, culminated here where we actually got to see Thanos getting all of the stones. He wiped out half of the world. And obviously, they lost. We hadn't seen them lose yet. Like, obviously, they beat Loki, they beat Ultron. They were separated from Civil War and all this, but we hadn't seen them lose as a team yet. And seeing how they dealt with that going into Endgame is just, I thought that this was a perfect part 1 and part 2. This film is special, and there's so many good moments in it, and it deserves all the credit that it gets. Marvel is working very hard to get back to this level of storytelling, and I think that Doomsday and Secret Wars are going to surprise people, and the Avengers films and Marvel's they're going to get that reputation back that's been kind of tarnished over the years with some of the projects that they've made. So I'm looking forward to it. But that is my ranking from worst to best, all the way from Infinity War to Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's what I have. I know that there's going to be a lot of people who have differing opinions. I ask you to please comment them down below. Just try to stay respectful. Remember, this is my opinion. I'm sure you have your own. You have reasons why you rank things higher, and that's cool. This is just where I would place mine. So, if you do have an opinion, though, comment down below your thoughts. I would love to know what you think. But that is all I have for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like. And if you want to see more Marvel content such as news, rankings, theories, lore videos, gaming videos, and more, make sure you hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you never miss an upload. Also, for live updates, I am on social media. You can follow me on TikTok at Nerds of the Multiverse, on Instagram at The Nerds of the Multiverse, and on X at Nerds of the Mult1. Also, if you have not subscribed yet to the Nerd Bros podcast YouTube channel, make sure you do so. We have new episodes coming out every single Tuesday at 6 p.m., so make sure you stay tuned for that. But with all that being said, I love you 3000, and I will see you in the next video.